The cargo station floated in the endless dark like a silver island between stars. Rian stood near the viewing deck, watching freighters drift in and out of the docking arms. The station was alive with voices from 100 species, speaking 100 languages, yet he felt quiet inside. Humans had a reputation in the galaxy for being restless travelers, and he was no different. Work had carried him far from home and far from the green fields of Earth. Rian worked as a cargo officer for a neutral trade company. His job was simple: check manifests, guide freight loaders, make sure nobody tried to sneak restricted tech through customs. It was not an exciting life, but it was steady. After years of moving from one ship to another, he had learned to keep his mind on the present. Yet, some memories had a way of returning when he least expected. He was thinking about that when his terminal flashed. A new message. No sender ID. No trade code. Just one line of text. Do you remember me? I am the disabled alien girl you once befriended. Rian stared at the words. At first, he thought it was some mistake or a strange scam. Disabled alien girl? Befriended? He scrolled down, but there was nothing else. No name, no details. Only that question. For a long moment, Rian sat frozen. His mind turned back like pages of an old book. He remembered long missions, distant colonies, faces that came and went. He remembered helping people sometimes, because that was what humans did. They helped. But an alien girl, he tried to picture her, but the memory stayed out of reach. The message blinked again. A second line appeared. Please meet me on Station Helios. Observation Deck 4. I want to see you again. Rian read it 3 times. Helios Station was not far. A few days' travel if he left now. Whoever this was, they knew he was close enough to reach it. He wondered why. He wondered who. He almost ignored it. Life out here was full of strange requests, but something about the message felt real. The words were simple, almost shy. Not a trick, not a threat, just a question from someone who remembered him when he did not remember them. He leaned back in his chair. A fragment of a memory tried to break through. A room filled with smoke and alarms. A small figure sitting on the floor, breathing fast. A voice, soft and shaking, saying thank you in a language he barely understood. Was that real, or just his mind filling in gaps? Rian closed the terminal and stood up. His shift was almost over. He could leave in the morning if he wanted. Helios Station was one of the largest trade hubs in this sector. Safe, neutral. If this person was there, he would find them the next day. Rian signed out of his post and booked passage on a passenger ship heading toward Helios. The journey was quiet. He spent the hours looking at the stars through the viewport. Every now and then, the same words came back to him. Do you remember me? He said them in his head until they sounded strange. Did he want to remember, or was it better not to? When the ship docked at Helios, the station lights filled the window like a sunrise in metal and glass. Helios was old but strong, a ring spinning slowly to give its visitors a taste of gravity. Freighters moved like silver whales. Around it, their engines glowing blue. Rian stepped into the station and joined the flow of travelers. He heard voices, music, announcements in a dozen languages. He checked the map and followed the arrows toward Observation Deck 4. The deck was a long hall with wide windows that opened to the stars. People stood in small groups, some taking pictures, some just staring at the endless black. Rian looked around, searching for someone who might be waiting for him. He did not know what species to expect. The galaxy was full of forms, tall and thin, short and scaled, some with wings, some with fur. He walked slowly, feeling his heart beat faster with every step. Then he saw her. She was standing near the glass, looking out at the stars. Her body was framed by a suit of metal supports that wrapped around her arms and legs. The exhaust suit was sleek, almost elegant, built for movement and grace. She turned when she sensed him coming. Her eyes were bright like polished stone, and her face held a smile that seemed both new and old. Rian stopped. Something inside him shifted. A memory opened, clear and sharp. Years ago, on a damaged colony ship, alarms screaming. smoke filling the air. He had been running through the corridor when he saw her small, fragile, unable to stand without help. He had lifted her in his arms and carried her to the rescue bay. She had said thank you in a voice like music. He had smiled and said it was nothing. And then he had left, never thinking he would see her again. Now she was here. She spoke his name. Soft but certain. Rian. He nodded slowly, still trying to believe it. It's you, he said. You found me. The alien girl, no, not a girl anymore, but a woman. Grown smiled wider. I told myself I would, she said. Her voice was steady, but there was something in it that sounded like wonder. Do you remember me now? Rian looked at her, at the strength in her eyes, and the steel around her limbs. He felt the weight of all the years between that moment and this one. He took a breath, and the words came out like a promise. Yes, he said. I remember. She stepped closer, her exhaust moving with a soft hum. For a moment, they both stood silent, the stars burning bright beyond the glass, and in that silence, Rian understood something simple and strange, that a single act of kindness could echo through years and light the path to something greater than he had ever imagined. Rian followed her as she moved toward a quiet corner of the observation deck. The soft hum of her exhaust was the only sound between them for a moment. Travelers passed by without paying attention, too busy with their own lives, but to Rian, the station felt suddenly smaller, as if the rest of the galaxy had stepped away to give space for this meeting. When they reached a quiet bench near the glass wall, she turned and faced him. Her smile was calm, but her hands trembled slightly, the metal frame of the exhaust suit adjusting to keep her steady. I'm glad you came, she said. Rian nodded. I was curious, and I wanted to know who you were. She tilted her head slightly, her large dark eyes shining under the station lights. You knew me once, she said softly, but you did not have time to learn my name. You saved me. You carried me out of the fire when no one else would. Rian remembered now with clarity. The colony ship had been damaged during a reactor failure. There was smoke and heat, people running everywhere. He had been searching for survivors when he saw her. She was lying on the floor near a broken door, her thin limbs bent painfully, unable to move. He had picked her up without thinking and rushed to the safe zone. He did not even ask her name because he was focused on keeping her alive. What is your name? He asked now, his voice quiet. She smiled again, as if this question carried a weight she had waited years to feel. Lyra, she said. My name is Lyra. Rian repeated it softly, letting the sound settle in his memory this time. Lyra, he said. I remember that day. I never thought I would see you again. I never stopped thinking about it, she said. Her voice had strength now, even though it trembled at the edges. You did something no one had ever done for me before. You looked at me and did not see weakness. You only saw someone who needed help. That moment changed me. Rian felt something move in his chest. He had helped many people during his years of work, but he had never imagined one small act could stay in someone's heart for so long. Lyra adjusted the small panel on her exhaust suit, the metal shifting slightly to support her weight. After you left, she continued, my people found me. They took me home. But I was not the same. Before, I thought I would always live hidden. In my world, those like me are not seen. We are kept away because they believe weakness springs. Shame. But you showed me that was wrong. That day I decided I would not hide anymore. Her words were simple, but Rian heard the strength behind them. He looked at her exhaust suit, the polished metal shaped like flowing lines around her arms and legs. It was not just a machine. It was part of her, something that gave her freedom. You did all this because of that day? He asked quietly. Yes, Lyra said. Her eyes met his, and there was light in them that made him feel small and proud at the same time. I searched. For years, I learned human language so I could speak to you without a machine. I followed every trade route, every record, until I found your name. Rian sat back, taking in her words. He felt a strange warmth in his chest. You didn't have to do that, he said. I wanted to, she answered. I needed you to know that what you did mattered. It mattered more than you will ever know. For A while, they sat in silence, looking out at the stars through the wide glass window. Ships move in the distance like bright fish in a dark ocean. The hum of the station was soft and steady, a reminder that life went on for everyone else, even. While two old lives were reconnecting. After some time, Ryun spoke again. So why now? Why call me after all these years? Lyra turned to him, and her face carried both pride and hope. Because I want you to see what came from your kindness. She said, I want to show you my world, and I want to tell you something. That may change yours. Ryun frowned slightly, curious. What do you mean? She gave a small smile. Not here. There are too many ears on this station. Come with me. There is a quiet hall near the cultural wing. He followed her through the curved corridors of the station. They passed vendors selling bright fruits and glowing fabrics, travelers of every shape and color moving in all directions. Some turned to look at Lyra's exosuit, but most looked away quickly, unsure if staring was polite. Ryun noticed how calm Lyra was. She walked with confidence now, her steps supported by the softness of servos. She had grown far from the fragile figure he once carried. The cultural wing was quieter, filled with display cases and holograms showing art from 100 worlds. Lyra led him to a small alcove where a tall sculpture stood, a swirl of metal and glass shaped like a rising wave. At the base of the sculpture were words written in several languages, including English. Strength is not in the body, but in the choice to rise. Ryun read the line and turned to her. This is yours? She nodded. The first of many. This station. Asked for a gift from my people. I gave them this, and the words. They came from you. The way you acted that day. No fear, no doubt, only a choice to help. Ryun felt his throat tighten. He had never thought of himself as someone who left marks on the galaxy. But here it was, proof that one moment had changed. Something beyond him. I wanted to thank you in a way that mattered, Lyra said. But there's more. My world is changing. Because of what I started, others like me now walk in the open. We are building suits. We are speaking for ourselves, and soon, we will ask the Galactic Council for a new law to protect those who were once hidden. I am leading that effort. Ryun stared at her, surprised and impressed. You're an ambassador, he said. Yes, she answered simply. And you gave me the reason to become one. He did not know what to say for years. He thought of himself as just another man doing his job. But now, looking at Lyra standing, proud in the glow of alien lights, he realized that even small choices could carry a weight greater than any starship. Lyra, he said finally, I'm glad you found me. I am glad too, she said, her voice soft but certain, because this is only the beginning. Outside the glass walls, the stars kept burning, bright and endless, as two lives prepared to take a new path together. The walk to the cultural wing had already surprised Ryun. But what came next made him feel as if he had stepped into a different life. Lyra led him through a door marked with a soft glowing symbol. Inside was a quiet hall filled with warm light and the scent of flowers. There were no crowds here, only the soft hum of air systems and the distant hum of engines from the station's core. The room had tall windows that opened to the stars. Tables lined the sides. And at the far end was a cafe counter with a gentle glow of warm lights. The air felt peaceful, almost like a garden. This is where I come when I need to think, Lyra said as they entered. Her voice was calm, but Ryun could see the tiny motions of her exosuit as it adjusted to keep her steady. The metal braces were shaped with care, not rough or heavy, but smooth like part of her body. The soft blue lights at the joints gave her a look that was both strong and graceful. You know this station well, Ryun said as they walked toward a table near the window. I have spent many months here. She answered, this place accepts all who come in peace. That is why I chose it for this meeting. They sat at the table. The stars outside looked close enough to touch, scattered like silver dust across the dark. Ships moved far away, their lights tracing silent paths through the void. For a while, they just sat in silence, letting the views speak for them. Finally, Ryun turned to her. I never thought I would see you again, he said. Lyra smiled, her eyes bright, and I never stopped hoping that I would, that day. It stayed in my memory like a light in the dark. Rian leaned forward slightly. I was just doing what anyone would have done. No, she said firmly, shaking her head. Not anyone. Many walked past me that day. They saw me and turned away because they thought I was too weak to save, but you did not. You saw me as worth saving. Her words struck something deep in him. He remembered that day clearly now, the rush of heat, the weight of the broken pod door, the fear on her face when he lifted her. He had carried her through the smoke while alarms screamed, thinking only of getting her out alive. It had been just one act among many, but to her, it had meant everything. You've changed, he said after a moment, looking at the EXOSUIT double quotes. Yes, she said softly, touching the polished metal at her arm. This is not just a machine. It is freedom. It lets me walk, travel, live without fear of breaking. My body was not made for the weight of this world, but with this, I can stand among others. It looks beautiful, Rian said honestly. Her smile grew gentle. Thank you. It was built with help from many species. Humans gave the first design. My people had no idea how to make something like this. They never tried before because they believed those like me should stay hidden. But after that day, I refused to hide. Rian's brow furrowed. Your people really kept you hidden? Yes, she said without anger, only quiet truth. They thought weakness was shame. They thought those with fragile bodies should live away from sight. I believed it too. For a long time, until you carried me through the fire and spoke to me as if I was no different from anyone else. That moment gave me the strength to fight. He sat back, listening to her words with a strange mix of pride and sadness. He had never known that his simple act could have such weight. What happened after I left? He asked. She looked out the window, her reflection shining against the glass. I went home. She said. I faced the whispers, the stares. I told them I would not hide again. They called me stubborn, but I kept speaking. I told them there is no shame in living, no shame in needing help. At first, they laughed. Then they listened, and slowly, things began to change. Rian could see the strength in her eyes now. It was not the strength of muscle or power, but the strength of a heart that refused to break. Now you are an ambassador, he said. Yes, she answered. I speak for those who were silent for generations. I fight for them to be seen. And soon, I will stand before the Galactic Council to demand new laws for protection and equality. Rian shook his head in wonder. And you think this all started because of me? I know it did. She said softly, you showed me a different way. You showed me that worth is not measured by strength or speed. That lesson gave me the courage to change everything. For a long moment, Rian could not speak. He had lived his life as a simple man, working shifts, moving cargo, never dreaming that his name would matter to anyone beyond a few station records. Yet here she was, standing in front of him as proof that one moment could ripple across stars. He cleared his throat and gave a small smile. I'm proud of you, Lyra. Her eyes softened. That means more to me than you know. The cafe attendant approached and placed the cups of steaming tea on the table. The scent was sweet and calming. Lyra wrapped her thin fingers around the cup, her exhaust adjusting so her arms would not shake as they drank. She spoke of her journey, how she traveled from world to world, speaking in council halls, how she worked with engineers to design the first mobility suits for her people. She told him of the protests, the debates, and the day the first law was passed to protect those with fragile bodies. Rian listened to every word, feeling both humbled and honored. When she finished, she looked at him again. I searched for you because I want you to see what you started. And because I need you again. He raised his eyebrows slightly. You need me? Yes, she said, her voice steady. There is something coming. Something that could decide the future of many worlds. I cannot do it alone. Rian felt a chill run down his spine, but not from fear, from the sense that his quiet life was about to change. What is it? He asked. Lyra looked at the stars beyond the glass and said softly, a choice that will shape history. And in that moment, Rian knew his old life as a simple cargo officer was over. The words stayed with Rian long after Lyra spoke them, a choice that will shape history. He felt the weight of those words settle on his chest like something alive. He had spent most of his life avoiding such things. He was a worker, not a leader. His choices never reached beyond his own shadow. But now, it seemed, the galaxy had a different plan for him. What kind of choice? He asked carefully. Lyra turned her gaze from the stars and looked at him. Her dark eyes held a quiet fire, something deep and unshaken. The council is meeting soon, she said. They will decide if my people are given equal status under the Interstellar Charter. For generations, we were silent because we were afraid. Now we speak, and many support us. But not all. Rian leaned forward. Who doesn't? Some of the most powerful trade guilds, Lyra said. They fear what equality will mean. They fear sharing resources with those they once ignored. And they have friends on the council. They want this motion to fail. That sounds like politics, Rian said, trying to keep his voice calm. It is more than politics, Lyra answered. They are planning something to make us lose before the vote even begins. If that happens, my people will go back to the shadows. All the progress we made will vanish, Rian frowned. What are they planning? She hesitated for a moment before speaking. A ship will leave this station tonight. It carries documents and proof that these guilds have been breaking the law for years. That proof is enough to force the council to listen. But someone wants that ship to disappear before it reaches the council. You think they'll destroy it? I know they will, Lyra said quietly. And if they succeed, there will be no second chance. Rian stared at her, his mind trying to fit the pieces together. And where do I come in? Lyra leaned closer. I need someone I trust to protect that ship. Someone who can move without drawing attention. Someone who once saved a life because it was the right thing to do. Rian shook his head slowly. Lyra, I'm not a soldier. I'm just a cargo hauler. Her voice softened. And that is why you are perfect. No one will expect you. No one will see you coming. He looked into her eyes, searching for doubt, but there was none. Only faith in him. What happens if I say no? He asked. Then the ship leaves without you. She said, and maybe it makes it to the council. Maybe it does not. But I will fight alone. I have done that before. I can do it again. But if I fail, it will not just be my people who lose. It will be the whole idea that the weak can rise. That kindness matters. Her words hit him harder than he expected. He looked down at his hands. They were calloused from years of work. Hands that had lifted crates and hauled cargo through endless docks. He had never thought they could carry the weight of something like this. But then he remembered her voice that day long ago, soft and weak as she whispered, "Thank you," while smoke filled the air. He looked up and met her eyes. "What do you need me to do?" Lyra exhaled slowly, as if she had been holding that breath for hours. "The ship leaves in 2 hours from dock." "9," she said. "It is a small courier with a single pilot. The guild is agents here, watching. If they learn what is inside, the pilot will not live to make the jump. So I'm backup?" "You are more than backup," she said. "You will ride with the pilot, protect him, and if the worst happens, you take the ship and finish the job." Rian nodded slowly. "And what about you?" "I cannot go," Lyra said. "If I vanish now, the council will see it as weakness. They will call off the vote. I must stay here and fight in the open, while you fight in the shadows." He leaned back in his chair. Feeling the weight of the choice pressing on him, he could walk away. He could pretend this was not his fight. But deep inside, he knew that was a lie. This was his fight the moment he picked her up in that burning quarter all those years ago. Rian stood up. 2 hours, yes, she said. "I'll be there," for the first time that night. Her smile reached her eyes completely. "Thank you, Rian," she whispered. He nodded, then turned and walked out of the quiet hall, his steps heavier than before. The station was alive with sound and motion. Vendors called out prices. Travelers hurried past. Security drones hovered overhead. Rian moved through the crowd without speaking to anyone. His thoughts were sharp now, focused on the task ahead. Dock 9 was on the lower ring, far from the luxury decks and bright lights. It was a place for work, not beauty. When he arrived, the courier ship was already waiting. It was small and sleek, painted gray with no markings. The kind of ship that was meant to be invisible. A man stood near the loading ramp, checking a data pad. He looked up as Rian approached. "You Rian?" The man asked. "Yes," Rian said. "Name's Caro." The man said. "Lyra said you'd be coming. You know what we're carrying." "Proof," Rian said simply. "That's one word for it." Caro said with a dry smile. "Get inside. We leave in 10. Rian climbed the ramp and stepped into the small ship. The interior was clean but cramped, with 2 seats in the cockpit and a narrow corridor leading to a cargo bay. A single sealed crate sat there, glowing faint blue from its security locks. He did not need to open it to know that inside was something that could change history. He strapped himself into the co-pilot seat while Caro ran pre-flight checks. Outside, the station lights glowed like distant suns. "Ready?" Caro asked. "As I'll ever be," Rian said. The engines roared softly as the ship lifted from the dock. Rian felt the vibration under his feet as they cleared the station's gravity field. The stars spread out before them like an endless ocean. For a brief moment, he thought maybe this would be easy. A short flight, a clean jump, and it would be over. But deep inside, he knew better. Lyra's words echoed in his mind. "They will try to stop us." And as the first alert flashed red on the screen, unidentified ships approaching, Rian understood how true that was. Far away, in the quiet hall with the glass windows, Lyra stood alone, watching the stars. Her hands rested on the smooth metal of her exosuit. Her heart steady despite the storm she knew was coming. History was moving, and so were the shadows. The warning lights blinked red inside the small ship. Rian's heart beat faster as the sensors showed several fast-moving vessels closing in. Caro tightened his grip on the controls, his face set and calm. But Rian could feel the tension in the air like a storm waiting to break. "Who are they?" Rian asked. "Guild mercenaries," Caro said. "They don't want us to reach the council. They'll do anything to stop us." Rian looked out the small cockpit window. The dark shapes of the ships appeared like shadows against the endless stars. Their engines flared, moving swiftly toward the courier. "They're blocking our path," Caro said. "We have to fight or run," Rian said. The weight of the crate behind them made escape difficult. The proof inside was precious and fragile. Losing it would mean everything they fought for was lost. Caro nodded. "I'll handle the flying. You prepare to defend." Rian's hands moved to the small control panel between their seats. The ship was equipped with light defenses, enough to hold off attackers for a short time, but not a full fleet. The first shots came quickly. Small bursts of energy lit the space outside as the mercenaries tried to disable their engines. The courier shook as a hit grazed the hull, shields at 50%. Caro reported. Rian's mind raced. He pressed buttons to activate the ship's countermeasures. Flares and electronic signals meant to confuse enemy targeting systems. Some shots missed, but others kept coming. Suddenly, the largest of the mercenary ships moved in closer, preparing to board. "They want us alive," Rian said quietly. "They want the proof or they want to silence us." The ship's alarm blared, signaling incoming. "Boarders." Rian grabbed a small energy pistol from the storage compartment. It was not much, but it was better than nothing. Caro's voice was steady. "I'm going to try to shake them off. Keep ready." Rian moved to the rear hatch, watching the airlock as it hissed open. 2 figures appeared in the dim light, their armor black and shining. They floated toward the ship. Weapons ready, Rian fired the pistol. The blast hit one of the boarders, who spun away. But the other moved faster, throwing a magnetic grappling hook toward the hull. The ship jerked violently as the boarders tried to force their way in. Caro shouted over the noise. "Hold on, I'm making a sharp turn." The courier spun, engines flaring, twisting through space. The boarding crew fought to keep their hold, but the ship's movements made their grip uncertain. Rian fired again, aiming carefully. One boarder lost grip and drifted away into the black. The other pulled a small device and tried to jam the ship's systems. Rian lunged forward and grabbed it just in time, smashing it against the floor. The ship's systems flickered, but the damage was limited. "We're not out yet," Caro said. "More are coming." The cockpit sensors showed at least 5 more ships fast approaching, their numbers growing. Rian felt his breath shorten. He had never imagined himself in a fight like this, but every moment reminded him of Lyra's faith in him, and that gave him strength. "We have to get to the jump point," Rian said. Karo nodded. "It's risky, but it's the only way." The jump point was a narrow strip of space where the courier could travel faster than light. If they could reach it, they might escape, but the mercenaries were blocking the path. Their weapons fired constantly, striking the courier with bursts of energy. The ship groaned under the pressure. Suddenly, one blast hit the cargo bay door. The glowing crate shook violently. Rian's eyes widened. If the crate was damaged, the proof could be lost. "Hold the line," he shouted, moving back toward the controls. Karo pushed the engines to full power, dodging blasts and weaving through the attackers. One mercenary ship suddenly appeared on their right, moving fast to cut them off. Karo aimed the courier's small weapons and fired. The blast struck the attacker's engine, sending it spinning out of control. "We took one down," Karo said, voice tense but relieved. Rian looked at the sensors. The jump point was close now, just seconds away, but the mercenaries were desperate. They formed a tight net around the courier, firing from all sides. The ship's shields flickered low, then crashed. Metal groaned as the hull was hit again. Rian's hands shook, but he kept firing the defensive weapons, hoping to hold the attackers back just a little longer. Suddenly, the largest mercenary ship fired a heavy blast, striking the courier's engine. The ship lurched violently. Sparks flew inside the cockpit. The jump drive started to fail. "No," Rian shouted. Kero struggled to keep control. "We can still make it. Brace yourself." The courier surged forward. The jump point was right in front of them. Rian felt the pull of space bending around the ship as Karo pushed the jump drive. The mercenaries fired one last barrage. Then, with a brilliant flash of light, the courier slipped into the jump point. Inside, the stars twisted and stretched. Time seemed to slow. And then, silence. The ship emerged on the other side. Far from the station and the attackers, the lights blinked green again. The jump drive hummed quietly, safe for now. Rian exhaled deeply, looking at Karo. "We made it," Karo said with a tired smile. Rian nodded. He looked back at the sealed crate, glowing faintly. The proof was safe. But he knew the fight was far from over. They still had to reach the council and deliver the evidence. And somewhere, out in the dark, the guild's shadow was waiting. The courier's engines settled into a steady hum as the ship moved away from the jump point. Outside the small windows, the stars looked calm and distant. But inside the cockpit, tension remained thick in the air. Rian sat back, rubbing his tired hands. "That was too close," he said quietly. Karo nodded, scanning the sensor panels. "They won't give up. The guild will send more ships after us. We need to be ready." Rian glanced at the sealed crate behind them. The blue glow was a reminder of the mission's importance. Inside was the proof evidence strong enough to expose years of corruption and crime. If it reached the Galactic Council, it could change everything. But if the guild caught them, all hope would be lost. "We should plot a course to the council meeting," Rian said. Karo shook his head. "It's not safe. The guild controls many routes. They have spies everywhere. If we take a direct path, we will be caught." Rian frowned. "What do you suggest?" Karo tapped the console. "We'll take the outer rim. The route's less traveled. It will take longer, but fewer eyes will be watching." Rian nodded. "Good. Let's do it." As they set the new course, a soft chime sounded. Karo checked the sensors again. Incoming message. He said. The screen flickered and a face appeared. It was a woman in a simple uniform. Her voice was urgent but calm. "This is Captain Nala from the Star Watch Patrol," she said. "We received reports of a courier ship under attack near Station Orcs." "Are you the ship they spoke about?" Karo answered quickly. "Yes. We are carrying sensitive documents. We were attacked by guild mercenaries." Captain Nala's face grew. "Serious? We are nearby. We will meet you at the next jump point. You are not alone." Rian felt a spark of hope. Help was coming. The message ended, and Karo smiled. "At least we have an ally." Rian smiled back, but his eyes stayed sharp. "We can't trust anyone too much," he said. "This mission depends on secrecy Carol nodded, agreed. They traveled through empty space for hours, moving carefully through the quiet darkness. The stars passed by slowly, but neither man relaxed. Both stayed alert, watching the sensors, waiting for any sign of danger. Suddenly, alarms blared. Multiple contacts approaching fast. Carol shouted. Rian jumped to his feet, grabbing the controls. Outside, several ships appeared on the radar, moving in formation. The guild was not done yet. Carol swerved the courier ship left and right, firing light energy blasts at the attackers. The mercenaries pursued with speed and precision. Trying to trap the courier between them, Rian activated the ship's electronic countermeasures, releasing flares and signals to confuse enemy targeting. But one of the enemy ships fired a powerful blast, striking the courier's shield and knocking out power to the rear thrusters. The ship lurched and alarms screamed inside. We're losing speed, Carol shouted. If they catch us, it's over. Rian looked at the crate. We can't let them take this. We have to fight harder. Carol nodded. Hold on. The courier twisted and turned, dodging enemy fire. Rian helped by aiming the small ship weapons, targeting the closest attackers. One mercenary ship exploded in a bright flare after a precise hit from the courier's lasers. But more ships came. Rian's hands trembled, but he kept firing. Suddenly, the courier's navigation system blinked red. The guild had hacked into the ship's systems. We're losing control, Carol shouted. Rian rushed to the control panel, working fast to override the hack. With a sharp beep, the systems flickered back. Carol sighed in relief. Good work. The courier sped toward the next jump point, but the enemy ships were gaining. Rian looked at Carol. Can we make it? Carol's eyes were hard with focus. We have no choice. The jump point was just ahead, a shimmering ribbon of light stretching across space. The guild ships fired a final barrage of blasts. The courier shook violently, but Carol pushed the engines harder. With a flash of blue light, they crossed into the jump point. Inside the jump, space stretched and folded. Time felt strange and slow. When they came out, the stars were different. They had made it to a new sector. Carol checked the sensors. No sign of pursuers. Rian let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Where now? Rian asked. Carol looked at the map. There's a hidden outpost nearby. It's off the usual routes, but has a secure relay to the council. Rian nodded. Let's hope it's safe. They adjusted course and flew toward the outpost, moving as fast as they could without drawing attention. When they arrived, the outpost was small and quiet. It looked like an old station, but the technology inside was strong and advanced. Carol connected the courier's systems to the outpost's network. We can send the proof to the council from here, he said. Rian watched the data upload, the glowing progress bar moving slowly. Suddenly, an alarm rang in the outpost. Security breach, a voice announced. Rian and Carol looked at each other, alarmed. More guild spies, Rian asked. Carol grabbed his weapon. Looks like they found us. The doors to the control room hissed open, and shadowy figures slipped inside. Rian stood, ready to fight, but then the leader stepped forward. It was a tall woman in dark armor, her eyes cold. You cannot win, she said. Give us the proof, and we will spare your lives. Rian shook his head. Never. The woman smiled. Then you leave me no choice. The room filled with tension. Rian and Carol prepared to defend the outpost. They knew the fight for justice was only beginning. Rian stood in the center of the control room, his eyes locked on the woman in dark armor. She was calm, confident, and sure of victory. But Rian felt no fear. He knew what was at stake. The truth was inside the glowing crate behind him, and he would protect it no matter what. Kero stood beside him, weapon ready. The other figures from the guild moved closer, their faces hidden in shadows. You don't understand, the woman said quietly. The guild controls the council. They decide what the truth is. Your proof will be ignored. You cannot stop what is already set. Rian shook his head. The council will see this evidence. They will have to listen. The woman laughed softly. We shall see. Suddenly, she signaled the others. They raised their weapons and moved forward. Rian and Carol held their ground. The room was small, With only a few places to hide, the fight would be close. The first attacker lunged forward. Kero fired his weapon, and the attacker dropped. Another came from the side, but Rian dodged and pushed him back with a heavy console. The battle was fast and fierce. Energy blasts lit the room. Sparks flew as metal was hit. Rian felt adrenaline rush through him, pushing him beyond tiredness and fear. But the attackers were many, and Rian and Kero were only two. Rian saw the woman move toward the crate. He shouted, "Stop!" She ignored him and reached for the container. Kero fired a warning shot. Making her pause, Rian ran forward and grabbed the crate's locking mechanism. "Not today," he said firmly. The woman smiled again. "You're brave, but this is the end." She lunged for him, and they struggled. Rian fought to keep the crate safe, feeling the weight of the moment. Kero fought off the others, shouting, "Rian, hold on." After a tense moment, Rian pushed the woman back and locked the crate securely. The sound of distant sirens filled the air. The outpost security system had activated the emergency signal. The guild attackers hesitated. Kero said, "Help is coming." The woman cursed under her breath. "This isn't over." She signaled a retreat, and the remaining attackers vanished through the doors as quickly as they had appeared. Rian and Kero stood breathing heavily, watching the exit. Minutes later, Captain Nala and her Star Watch patrol arrived, weapons drawn. But cautious. Nala looked at the crate and then at Rian. "Is this the proof?" "Yes," Rian said. "It has to reach the council." Nala nodded. "You did well. We will escort you safely." Rian looked at Kero. "We almost didn't make it." Kero smiled tiredly. "But we did, together." They prepared to leave the outpost. The journey ahead was still long, but the hardest part was over. The data inside the crate would be shown to the council. The guild's control would be broken. Lyra's people would be heard. Rian thought of her, wondering if she was still fighting on the station. He hoped so. As the courier ship lifted from the outpost, Rian felt a new strength inside. This was not just a mission, it was a new beginning. And no matter what the future held, he knew one thing for sure: kindness and courage could change the stars. The end.